Welcome back. Welcome back. We are back with Football Nation Podcast with Derek and Tyler. Tyler, how are you doing, man? Doing good?
Man, what a weekend. We're feeling good, man. Very excited.
What a week. Man, what a football weekend it was. We had some good games, man, college and pros, man. But we are going to go ahead and jump in it, man, with the Tennessee game versus South Carolina, man. What happened to Tennessee football?
It
Man,
went on
just
a road
what
to
happened?
a home that was ready to go. Man, where has Spencer Rattler been? Where has this been for Spencer Rattler? That's my thing. As much as this was a crazy game for Tennessee, falling out of the playoffs, falling out of contention, Spencer Rattler, man, where has this been? If he would have looked like
Man,
this
I
the
was
whole time, I don't think Lincoln Riley would have left Oklahoma. You know what I mean? He would have never got his
right.
job taken by Caleb Williams. But I gotta be
Right.
real, man. I've watched a little too much South Carolina football this year. I love watching incoming prospects for the pros. I love getting a little ahead of it during the season, saying who might be a late round pick that might have some interesting storylines to him. Spencer Rattler's been that guy for me to be like, you know what? He might land somewhere in the fifth round and it might be something. But all year it's just been like, nah, it's not that. And for a team that just has not been that to go in their first five drives and all end up in touchdowns.
5 for 5.
Tennessee,
Five for
I
five.
mean, if you just hide the scoreboard throughout the whole game, did Tennessee really even play that bad? On defensive, maybe, but on offense, they were putting up points and they were fairly efficient. Maybe not their best game, but oh my God, South Carolina. I know you're at home. I know it's a statement. Let's upset these people game, but where has this been? I've been watching too much South Carolina football to think this is just who they are, man. What a day to show up and show out
Mm.
because you just knocked
Against
Tennessee off their horse and prayers
they're
up for
10th
Malik.
now.
Yeah, for nothing
They're
because they're
about to
not.
10.
Don't they have 4 losses on the season, man? Come on,
Oh, Tennessee or
where?
South
No, South
Carolina?
Carolina. Okay, so I thought you meant
Yeah, four.
South
Yeah,
Carolina
four.
jumped in because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
four
God,
losses.
they got 4 losses on the season. They just came in looking like a contender when it's like you have not been a good passing team, let alone one of these teams
Right.
all year, man. So it's like Tennessee, I don't think they played that bad. They just played a perfectly executing offense. And their defense, has let up a lot this year. You saw it against Georgia, you saw it against Alabama. They've let up a
Right.
lot of points, especially on the road. But God, South Carolina, man, that's it for me. What happened to Tennessee football? They got steamrolled by a team that came out of nowhere. 5 straight touchdowns to open the game. I mean, how many programs can really survive that? I mean, even a team like
Five.
Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, if you let up 5 straight scoring drives to open a game, you're in a bad spot. And then your quarterback goes down in the fourth. But the way that score looked, you'd have thought that Hendon Hooker went out a little sooner than he did. But to
Right.
say the least, man, prayers up for Hendon Hooker. It's so sad to see someone that for the last couple of years has carried this program on his back finally has the team around him, and this is how his season's going to end. Not even get to play in a bowl game. So sad for
Right.
Hooker, man. But damn, Spencer Rattler, what a game!
Man. So, man, so it's like this. Tennessee basically got exposed. Basically, one we kind of know that they are they are just like Alabama. They don't play good away. And to let South Carolina out of all teams beat you like that, putting up 63 points on your defense. Now, granted, Tennessee does not have the top 10, defense, of course. But still, I mean, 63 points. You drop from the fifth spot to the 10th spot.
Yeah,
Now, those hopes are gone and
so
they are
gone.
over. Tennessee got exposed. They got exposed. Now, I don't know what went down, what happened, what was wrong, but man, their defense got completely exposed, and they were away.
Yeah.
So if they were home, they could have won the game. Probably, don't know. But if you are ranked fifth, your loss first was to Georgia, but get spanked and you let them put up 63 points on you, and you only put up 38 points. What happened? Tell you this, it was not the offense. It was the defense. Granted, the offense, they like played, pretty good, but it was defense. And defense got exposed. But there is a thought, or question. If you played South Carolina and they put up 63, but Georgia put up 23, I think, then though that game, what's the difference? So could Georgia kind of be in question?
No.
Do you think so?
No.
Or is it just, that game?
South Carolina had their day, man. I'm just going to say, Spencer Rattler looked absolutely elite. I have never seen him play like that. He's never played
Not
like
even at Oklahoma.
It was what he was doing outside the pocket, creating. I don't want to call him Mahomes-ish but he looks like a top flight NFL quarterback, just breaking out the pocket, but keeping such composure, firing downfield, and the things he was doing, man. I don't understand where this has been, but we saw his full potential today, and I wonder if he does enter the draft after this year. I'm not quite sure on his eligibility for it, but I'm sure a team might just take a chance on him after this year just to see if they could unlock a little more of that. Because it wasn't even Tennessee, man. Tennessee's defense, yeah, they got lit up. They definitely did. But what Spencer Rattler was able to put together, I've never seen like when they played Georgia. It doesn't mean Georgia's slipping at all, because when they played Georgia, Stetson Bennett played amazing. He was way more athletic and way bigger arm than I thought. He did not do that. That was a different level. Spencer Rattler, man, props to you. What a way to, at the last minute, when it really doesn't matter for your team, just come out and have your day, man. Because that's what it was. It was just South Carolina came in, and I gotta say, the success they had on trick plays, not necessarily trick plays, but end around, like a tight end reverse. The things they did that were so much more creative than anything I've seen from them this year, it leaves me questioning the coaches, where has this been? If this is who you are, you should have done this in the beginning. Oh my God, you guys look good. But yeah, Tennessee's out, and Hendon Hooker, he's definitely not going to be eligible for combine activities. I doubt wherever he gets drafted that he'll be probably maybe halfway through.
Second round, a third? If a third, maybe.
I think end of first wouldn't surprise me. But the thing is that he's not going to be held. It's going to be like Jameson Williams this year, where Jameson Williams just returned to practice. He's going to be eligible to even go to practice around week 8 next year, if I had to imagine. So he's going to miss his rookie year as well for the most part. It's just a really sad thing for Hendon Hooker, and you never know if this maybe slides him down to a team that could really use him. But wow, what a surprise!
What a game! All right, man. Next, now I have my doubts on what happened this game, man. No lie. Is TCU a true competitor? If you were to ask me, these last three games they played, Texas Tech, Texas, and Baylor, they barely won. Barely won these games. Now, keep in mind, Texas game is kind of cool. That's
they lit Texas up for the most part.
Right. Texas Tech, that's a bit more. You shouldn't have been that close. and then Baylor. Now, keep in mind Baylor though, solid team, not great, solid,
Solid.
but yeah, solid team. So who, whoever TCU plays in that game, that big game, man, they could lose that game. I mean, I am just not sold on TCU just being a fort, like throughout. Because one, they would play Georgia first, probably, and get
100%.
tanked in that game. So I just can't be sold that TCU, that they are just it. They don't show, destroying, beating teams, like killing them. They show, yeah, we'll win it, but not by much. We'll try and then win it. Man, look though, Saturday they came back and won. The only reason why they won, honestly, they just had time.
Yeah. For
So
me,
I don't
man,
think that they're good.
I gotta praise Baylor so much. The same way, I was talking
Oh, yeah.
about South Carolina. The exact same thing I said. Baylor had so much success on exotic plays. They had a
Right.
touchdown on a tight end reverse. The wide receivers reverses, the screenplay, the short passes. They took what TCU was giving them and absolutely just made soup out of it, man. They really did a great job. They stayed ahead of the chains. Like, they used those small plays and just kept first downs coming. They controlled time of possession for a greater part of the game. And, I mean, for the most part, on defense, they really limited TCU's big plays. So many of their,
Yeah.
big bomb plays were shut down, other than 4 or 5 big plays that ended up deciding whether or not TCU was still in the game. I mean, Tay Barber, he's a slept-on prospect for me. He just finds a way to get wide open down the field every game. It's like once a game that he just gets a bomb touchdown, running away from everybody, wears the coverage. They do a lot of great things to scheme him open. But, I mean, like you're saying, TCU just lets too much happen defensively.
Right.
I think this is how I describe them. They're the best of the rest. You got your top 3 teams who we've known the last few weeks is just who they are. Everybody else, I might say TCU is the best. What I said last week about I think I might take USC over them. I mean, TCU's got a better roster for the most part, but the quarterback is just different. And now, if I'm not mistaken, USC is right outside the playoffs looking in. Like, somebody slip up because we're here. And we'll get to that game here in a minute, but TCU really impresses me and lets me down so much every game where it's like their defense just lets too much happen.
Right.
But at the same time, their offense just hits on big plays the way that I haven't seen another team this year hit. And it's not even like no one else can throw a deep ball. I mean, just the timing of when they hit those deep plays, when they throw creative coverages at you. I'm interested to see if maybe an offensive coordinator there gets a coaching job for another team, if that head coach gets another opportunity, because it really is just they got a great scheme and a great way to open up gaps and blow it open as far as defense. Like we talked about with Texas. One mistake they had was they played a lazy cover 2. And so you run crosser, and Quentin Johnson comes from the outside all the way to the middle, wide open. And so they're so good at that. But it's just the same elaboration of what they do doesn't affect their defense. And I wish that they could just give me something on defense, because Max Duggan plays he almost looks like a more athletic Drew Brees to me, where it's like, does he have the ability to throw 60 yards? Absolutely not. But the timing is beautiful. His ability to scheme it open and look off, come back, hit you deep, it's always on the money. He never throws an off ball, in my opinion. But it's just that defense lets up way too much. You saw it against West Virginia. You saw it against Texas Tech. And we saw it again versus Baylor. And it's just like, you can't do that against these top flight teams. If they get lucky, and I mean, I can't even say get lucky in facing Michigan. I'm only saying that because Blake Corum is now facing an injury. I think Ohio State would just destroy them, and it wouldn't be something you can come back on. I think Georgia
They
wouldn't
should.
allow those deep shots. I think
Oh,
Michigan
well,
is the only one that they can really maybe get a sneak on
probably. Yeah,
because Michigan's missing their running back now, and so
that
that's
hurts them.
where, yeah, but they got two great running backs. So we'll be talking about this on Thursday, believe it. But right now, I'm just sitting here like those top three teams, I can't see TCU beating them. But do they belong in the playoffs? Absolutely, in my opinion. As long as they can just close out one last game, I think they're absolutely number 4. I just don't have higher expectations than that.
Man, now we were so hard on the playoff choices, TCU should be there, should be in there. But now, now that they're there, they so they don't show that they should be there. So they are there because of their record. That's it. And now it's going back to when they beat who they beat Oklahoma State. That game now it seems is like they like downwards now. If you go back to the Kansas State game, they're not that good. You go back to their game versus Texas. Texas is very down and up a lot. So what true win did you get?
Yeah.
Like that now.
That's where I think, man, they're just the best of the rest. Like they will beat any other team that's not the top 2 teams in the SEC. Other than that, I think I wonder if, because I believe it was 2019, a few years ago, TCU went undefeated and they were the number 3 seed. And then last week, the last adjustment to the playoffs got dropped down to 6 and missed the playoffs. And I'm like, if you have another shaky game and win, can we see something similar? I would hate to see it happen because I think they should be in the playoffs at this point. I think they have earned it. It's just I don't think there's any way you can play the way they do, just be who they are, and beat a top flight team. Talking about the top 3, I don't think so. Even I think I have questions if they would beat USC if they went head to head. Obviously, there's no way that's going to happen. It's an impossible matchup this way. But I think USC might pull that out because just like we're about to say, oh my, Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams was a beast. They were beasts. But I do have this big question, man. Is USC too hyped, though? Are they too hyped?
No. Personally, I was wondering why they weren't the 5 seed. I get it. But for me, man, I think that game was too close for what it really was. I think that USC's defense just is not to the same caliber of their offense, like so many teams in college. But I mean, 470 yards, 2 touchdowns for Caleb Williams. He's my Heisman favorite right now. I understand C.J. Stroud is the leading guy, but if C.J. Stroud doesn't play perfect and Caleb Williams plays like he just did, I think if you look at it from a different standard, if you had an MVP of college football, the Heisman is somewhat that, but not necessarily. If you just had who has put the team on their back the most, Caleb Williams.
Carried them?
Yes, Caleb Williams, man. Yeah. He's the MVP of all of college football right now. And Jordan Addison is just unguardable. Like it's going across the bottom of the screen right now. 11 receptions, 178 and 3. I mean, my God. But I think that USC's defense does not – Dorian Thompson-Robinson, good game.
He is a great quarterback. Great quarterback.
He is, but 4 turnovers –
second, third round, maybe. Second, third round.
I think it's still a little high. I think athletically he's great, but I think as a passer, there's still something less to be desired. I think
drop him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, what he just had, a 64.9 QBR, I think that's very, good display of who he is because the 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Luckily, they got 1 fumble back. I
Right.
think that's really something that I looked at and I said, why did USC not have a greater lead here? And I understand
Exactly.
that. Well, Zach Charbonnet ran the hell out the ball. That's why. Because
A
200,
bunch of times. Yes.
200 yards, 2 touchdowns from the running backs UCLA. Like we talk about every week, if you can get that ground game going, you can control the tempo of a game, you can win some ugly games. And UCLA came close to that. But I think just that quarterback difference is what set them apart. And I think that USC is not too hyped. I think they're in a very similar category to TCU, where their defense just lets up way too much. I mean, and that's what we see from great college football teams is a great defense, typically. You know, if you have a defense that's getting exposed on a weekly basis or even just letting up too much on a weekly basis, it's going to hold you back. And that's where I think Michigan, Ohio State, and especially Georgia, that's a different class because they have that defensive unit. You know,
That's
even
different game.
yeah, and that's why I think even Texas
That's a
Tech
different
was
game.
a hard game for TCU because they have a
Right.
great defensive unit, but Texas Tech is lacking that offensive creativity, quite
Right.
frankly.
Exactly.
And so you have so many teams that are great offensively, like Oregon, you know, like USC or UCLA, but having that
Washington, too.
top flight quarterback is what sets you apart. And I think
Right.
it almost reminds me of what you see from Stafford to Cooper Kupp or
Mhm.
Derek Carter, Devontae Adams, when you see Williams and Addison out here just doing whatever they want. I mean, almost 200 yards for Jordan Addison, 11 receptions. They tried to stop him. It's not like they gave him one look and just kept getting beat by it. They did a lot of things, but Jordan Addison, man, oh, wow. What an impressive game from him. And Caleb Williams, man, absolutely putting the team on his back and saying, I will find a way. And he did. To his credit, they still got one loss in the season, and if anything weird happens, like TCU falling out, I would hope USC falls into that 4th place seed because I believe a little more in them than I do TCU. Even though I really do believe I love TCU, I really do. I love a lot of what they do offensively primarily, but the creativity and the explosiveness they display, I love them. But USC is just a little more dangerous, to my opinion, because they have the quarterback that can actually go crazy on a team that gives up anything.
Right. Man, so my biggest like wild thing is that they drop, TCU. USC goes in there, but they'll lose to Georgia first round.
To
Because,
Georgia,
again, yes, to Georgia. Because again, Georgia is just different. Man, on defense, especially defense, they are different. Also, Oregon still no, they don't play the Trojans this year. They don't. Never mind. But if they do, though, make it, to 4th, they'll lose though to Georgia. So I personally think that they're a bit too hyped because this is their first year with Caleb, with Lincoln, too as well. So I say probably next year they'll be more solid. But for their first year, I doubt they even beat Georgia. I mean, that there is just such a tough game though to win, and to beat Georgia. Georgia has that experience in the playoffs. They won the whole thing, and they beat Bama. So I doubt that they beat Georgia.
That's the one thing this year that I think I will give credit to the college football playoff rankings, the playoff voters, that they put LSU at 5. And you see in the AP poll that actually LSU is 6 and USC is 5. And I think that's justifiably so. But I do think that college football playoff, they're looking at the fact that if you're going in that Georgia matchup, who's going to hang better, TCU, LSU, or USC? It's LSU.
USC
because
hang better.
I think TCU and USC are the same story of just a great offense and a defense that you hope gets lucky. and it's a little different aspect of both. I think USC relies on the running game a little more. Even being down Zach Dye, Austin Jones went crazy. You got to give a lot of credit to the O-line of USC that created so much time for Caleb Williams. But I do think that LSU has the defense that if they can get a couple stops, then Jaden Daniels can do some things, and that's where I will give some credit to the college football playoff rankings that I do think if I just had to pick any matchup, as much as I do want to see Caleb Williams in that opportunity, because I think he is top 3 players in college football, and he has another year to go, it's going to be LSU. But I'm excited to see how next year USC is going to be projected as a top 3 team, in my opinion.
Oh, bro, trust me.
Yeah,
man, trust me. Next year, they're
going to be a real contender. No doubt.
Definitely. By far. But in 2 weeks, man, you got Georgia versus, LSU. That game is going to be awesome. That game, if Georgia loses, I'll tell you that they'll drop to 4. Trust me.
I don't think they're going to lose.
They shouldn't lose, but they can lose, but they shouldn't lose. But if they lose, they'll just go to a 4th, probably, if that. So from there, that'll be Ohio State first. Second, you will slide in probably Michigan or in LSU. So that's a second. Then do USC and then do Georgia. Probably. That's how that could go.
Well, all I'm saying is they got their next game against Georgia Tech. I don't have too high expectations for Georgia Tech to make the upset. The SEC championship against LSU is going to be coming. So
it is going to be good, man.
Yeah. Good. And that might be a preview to see 2 weeks in a row of that matchup. You never know.
Yeah. So it is now time for the NFL.
Yes.
The NFL also, Sunday was awesome. It was good, man. But my Dallas Cowboys. What did they do? You thought that the Vikings would beat the Cowboys? You serious? They ain't beat Dallas in 2-3 years. They wasn't finna beat us. We went to their home, to their house. We sat on their couch, ate their cookies, drunk their milk. We put up 40 points and they put up 3. The Vikings are overhyped. They aren't good. Well, I'm sorry. They aren't great. They're solid at best. How do you beat the Bills but lose to Dallas? And the league says or thinks that the Bills are like better than Dallas. And you put up 3 points at your house. What in the world? I told you that the Vikings they are a overly hyped team. They have been beating anybody good. The Bills, that counts, but it don't count because Bills are struggling though right now. They are. So it don't count as much. You lost to Dallas at home. 40-30. What you gonna listen, man? Dallas played a full game. Offense, defense, special teams. They killed it. Dak was good. Zeke was good. Pollard was good. Defense was good. And you thought that the Vikings would definitely beat? No. Dallas also is about to get OBJ. It's just going to add to it.
Man.
It's just going to add to it.
I disagree with nothing. I got to sit here silently and take this one because, oh my God, 40-3. I mean, just looking at the box score, man, Dak Prescott, 145 QBR, 22 for 25. That's about a perfect game. 276 and 2 touchdowns. That's a perfect game right there. Tony Pollard, between his 15 rushing attempts and his 6 receptions, 21 touches, 200 yards damn there. I think it was 189 yards total, 2 touchdowns. And I mean, you're even using Zeke in the right way, where he got his own 15 carries and a reception, 2.8 yards per carry, but that's the only negative stat for Dallas on the day because he still was using the red zone. Pass blocking was elite. I mean, Tony Pollard was your leading receiver. I mean, I said it weeks ago that if you just use Zeke as a complimentary player, I don't care about the salaries. We just got to move on from that and let Tony Pollard be your feature guy. Yeah. Oh, my God. But the worst part is just the way that – and the worst part for me, because I don't want to see this happen, this right here. The very first drive, Micah Parsons breaks around the edge, strip sack fumble, just set the game off on the wrong note for the Vikings. I mean, credit to y'all got a complete defense, man. That's where it really starts and ends for me. I love seeing Tony Pollard go crazy. I love seeing Dak back healthy, CD and Michael Gallup all getting touches. Even your tight ends getting touches, all of them. But Micah Parsons, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Dorrance Armstrong, 2 sacks. You got DeMarcus Lawrence and Jayron Kearse getting a sack, and then Dante Fowler coming. My God. Y'all, it's just too much. And then you see Brett Maher. Y'all, I got to point out, have you ever – I thought it wasn't allowed to review a play after a play had been ran.
That was a bogus call.
There's so many things in the NFL this year that I would just look at referee-wise, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Why would y'all do – what?
I did not know. And I'm just not just me. Many former players this week have spoken on the fact that I didn't know you could review a play after another play has been ran. I thought that was exactly the opposite of the rule, but they tried. Brett Maher hits a 60-yard field goal. They tried to say, oh, no, we're going to review a play that happened 2 plays ago, and we're all sitting here like, what do you mean? You can't do that.
What kind of
you can't do that, but
no, you can't do that.
Then they don't turn over anything. They just say, oh, yeah, it was upheld. We're just messing around. Sorry, let's get back to the game and stop goofing off over here. Hits another 60-yarder. Everything. Every single thing was just like, I don't even blame the Vikings too much because what are you going to do? This team is just loaded. Y'all are playing perfectly. And you're getting OBJ. When they're saying it's down to the Giants and the Cowboys, I hate to say it. The Giants just lost to the damn Vikings. And exactly what we said last week,
The Lions. And
wow. A week ago today, I looked at the fact that the Giants and the Cowboys face each other on Thanksgiving. And OBJ is trying to be faithful to his old team in case they turned out good, in case they won that game. But especially after now they lose to the Vikings, he just doesn't want to be there on prime time looking across the field at all his old buddies saying, sorry, it just didn't work out. So he's going to wait till after Thanksgiving. And later this week, he's going to wait till after Thanksgiving. You and me kind of sat here like, yeah, we know what's going on here. Unless the Giants want to offer him $15 million per year over 3 years, they're not getting him. The Cowboys are going to get him the day after Thanksgiving, and it's just going to be, what do you do? The defense is perfect, and now I'm sitting here like, what? Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup, Noah Brown, OBJ, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Zeke. God, now you're going to have a loaded offense. I don't know. I don't want it. I just don't want it. I don't want to see the Cowboys win anymore, but I'm going to see a little more of it, I feel like.
All right, man.
See a lot more of it.
Perfect
game.
I just shut them out.
Beautiful.
Man. Next, man, we have who I think could be this year's MVP again. Patrick Mahomes is killing every team he plays. He is coming back on every team that he plays against, and it's crazy. It is crazy not to think that the Chiefs could be going back to the Super Bowl again. Yeah. And they are, but you can't sleep on the Dolphins though. You can't. They're good. You can't. You can't. But our Chiefs lotto to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think you got to get past the Dolphins to get there. Honestly, you got to pass Miami first to get
We
there.
can just
Because the Bills, that's a test, but it's not but that's a test for the first round though.
I think it's as close to a lock as you can get. If you remember last week, I halfway had a terrible take saying that I would take the Vikings and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to have to hold my beer on the other one. But I'm sticking to the Chiefs. At least I was right about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the Chiefs, man, it's not even just Patrick Mahomes. It's what him and Travis Kelce are able to do. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, what they're able to do creatively. It's just there's so many looks where even that very last touchdown that, Derwin James is man-to-man locked up on Travis Kelce, and you see Derwin James just see the rub route coming, and he hesitates for half a second, and he realizes, oh, God, Kelce's crossing the middle. And he tries to catch him, and he just can't. Kelce, man, he said that the Chargers always know how to play him. He tried to give the Chargers defense some credit, and I look at the box score, and I'm saying 6 receptions, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and you saying that they played you well? I would love to see a team that doesn't play you well, then that'd be incredible, because I think that's about as good a day as a tight end, let alone wide receiver can have.
Right.
And when you just see how much they spread it out, you would imagine that, Kadarius Toney, they just traded for him. He must be a big thing. Juju's not even here. Okay, their passing game must struggle. Justin Watson gets 3 receptions. Noah Gray. You got Jody Fortson. Most people don't know who these guys are. Even Sky Moore. I love me some Sky Moore, but a lot of people don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's good.
Love him. 5 receptions, 63 yards. He's a dog. Great slot receiver. But the guys that they spread it out to is just like most people don't know them. Even Chiefs fans don't know who Jody Fortson or Noah Gray are, really. And Isaiah Pacheco, love him so much. Averaging 7.1 yards per carry, 15 touches. And, a lot of times when you see an exaggerated number like that, I always point out, well, he had a 60-yard run, so ignore that. Longest run was 28. He just was gashing him. I mean, that's what the Chargers are susceptible to. They just get gashed in the running game. When, Jerick McKinnon, I believe he did have a fumble or something, but Isaiah Pacheco, absolutely tearing him up. Travis Kelce playing about as good as he can.
Patrick Mahomes all the touchdowns for him.
It's just the thing is, Travis Kelce was a quarterback growing up all the way into his college days. And so he sees the field better than most quarterbacks do. And you can tell that. Mahomes was talking about after the game about, he always goes through his reads unless he sees Kelce one-on-one because he knows Kelce's going to put some move on him and it's just going to be game over. And it's like, yeah, it is. And I mean, as much as the Chiefs let up a little too much points on defense for them to be like the best team, in my opinion, that they could be. But do you even know who Mike Dana is?
No.
Man, he had 2 sacks for the Chiefs. That's what I'm saying. The guys they pull out and the ways they use them. I mean, it's incredible.
It's like the Patriots did.
Yes.
Same way.
For people who don't know, Mike Dana has been in the league for 2 years. He was a 5th-round pick out of Central Michigan 2 years ago. But he's been a killer this year for them. And Chris Jones getting 2 sacks and Willie Gay getting a sack. It's like they have such an eye for talent. I think that's the biggest thing for me is, a few years ago in the Super Bowl, they have offensive line concerns. They go out, draft a guard from Tennessee, couple free agent signings. Oh, no, best offensive line in the league, short of the Philadelphia Eagles now. And it's like they are such an impressive unit all around. I wish they'd stop letting up so many damn yards and points on defense, but
they do.
I feel like they sit back every day knowing that they have that dude at quarterback. And they say, okay, we'll let you get a yard or two. Watch this. Watch what's going on here. Josh Palmer had 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert looked about as good as he's looked all year. My take last week of would you take Daniel Jones or Justin Herbert this year, I'm going to have to forget about that one because I was wrong.
Man.
Wrong.
He's good, but man.
I was just talking about this year. Wasn't talking in general. And then as soon as
yeah.
I say that, Justin Herbert comes out and has the best game of his season, and I'm like, all right,
next week,
swallow that one.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's the craziest thing is that Mike Williams barely played. Keenan Allen was finally back. 5 receptions, 94 yards, but it doesn't matter. You're going against 15.
Right.
You're going against Patrick Mahomes. Don't matter what you do. You didn't do enough every single week. And I'm just like, if they can really hit a even greater momentum or maintain this momentum into the playoffs, it's gonna be crazy to see what they can do. They don't even come out so hot on teams. 6 points in the first quarter, 7 points in the second, 3 points in the third, 2 touchdowns in the fourth. Let's wrap it up. We out of here. It's like
they are a second half team. They are.
I think that the most dangerous thing you can be as a team is a team that the other side knows is coming.
Exactly.
When you have a lead on the Chiefs, you're just kind of looking over at the scoreboard like, how long is left? Oh, 8 minutes. Oh, no. Oh, that's too much time.
Right.
Even you give them back the ball, and it's like, how much? Oh, 56 seconds, 53 seconds. Oh, that's too much time. If they don't got – you can give them the ball with 20 seconds left, and they're going to be like,
that's so much time. Right.
I don't know if that's good. I think we can need a buzzer beater to beat these guys in.
Right.
Not going to give you that opportunity. Their defense just steps up so heavily in the last 15 minutes, 10 minutes of a game. It's just like they're a complete team, and I believe they absolutely are as close as it gets to a lock for the Super Bowl, or at least conference finals.
So me, I can't say that I am a lock because of their defense, because you do got to think that you got to beat the Bills and Dolphins to get to the Super Bowl. Both teams got great offenses. Your defense is not good. So if they play that same way, they can't go. This is how you beat Patrick Mahomes. You keep him off the field and you keep that clock going. Like, give the most that time that you can give them is probably 2 seconds, and that's it. I mean, hey,
I don't even feel comfortable with that. He might just unveil 80-yarder to Kadarius Toney. I don't even trust that.
Right, but that is how you beat a Mahomes. So for me, Chiefs aren't just a lot, because again, you got 2 teams. No, really 3 teams. That third team can sneak in, though. Titans can sneak in. Not their offense per se, but they got good defense too as well. So you got to see Titans, Dolphins, and Bills. So it's tougher in the AFC than on the NFC.
The NFC.
Honestly. Yeah, it's
for a sense
tougher.
I love that you just hit on those points, because exactly what I was about to say. I think the Bills are the biggest contention because of who they have at quarterback.
Right.
The Dolphins, I would argue, defensively have way better talent than the Chiefs and way bigger issues letting up points. They've let teams like the Lions get way ahead on them. And now they're explosive, but I think it is the Titans that if Tannehill stays healthy, if Henry stays healthy, if Treylon Burks continues to play like we saw him play against the Chiefs last week, we saw the Chiefs come right back on the Titans too. So that's a tough thing. But I think that is the team that can, like you said, keep Mahomes off the field.
Right.
I actually would say that I would take the Titans over the Dolphins for sure. The Dolphins, I know you're really high on them. I just think their defense lets too much happen, even more so than the Chiefs.
That's true. But I see it as, yes, you got to have, that defense to stop them, but you need points too as well, because Chiefs they can score and fast at that. So, so the points you do need them.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, they
Put up a lot of
can
points.
put up points and fast. That's why.
Yeah, definitely. I see it.
So, are the Eagles fully back? No. They gave me a huge concern with a 1-point win. And then you do lose to the Commanders too as well last week. But Philly though being back, no. One, the offense kind of went down a bit, just a bit. They do have good defense, but the offense is where they'll have trouble. Next, they play. I believe it's the Titans. Probably not. I don't know, but
I'm checking.
they aren't. Who?
I'm checking right now.
Okay, but they aren't. They aren't the best team. No. Now, granted, though, Colts did good. They did good on defense, really. Did good, but Philly is just no.
So the Eagles face the Packers next, and then they face the Titans.
Packers, they'll win.
They'll
Titans,
win. Yeah.
I think they'll lose.
That will be a good game against the Titans. We'll see about that one. I want to see how
Yeah.
they perform against the Packers because the Packers have solid defense for sure.
They
I
do.
think really the Eagles may be fully back. It's a term thing because I think on offense we've seen how hot they can get, and I don't think that's where they're at this moment.
Right.
But I think they're still good enough to win you a couple good games. I think where they can hit their peak yet, I think, is through that pass rush. We still have not seen Robert Quinn debut for them. He's
Right.
still getting acclimated to their defense. It looks like, hasn't performed yet. You see Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph both showing up, coincidentally on the same sack, on the same play, meeting at the quarterback. It was a very interesting moment to see that. But I think what you see at the end of the game, Brandon Graham breaking around the tackle, big sack to force a 4th and 21 that basically effectively ended the game because they're not going to come back on that in their own territory. I think that's where if they can just put the pass rush together a little more, if Robert Quinn, and I wonder maybe he's been there for almost 2-3 weeks now. I wonder if they're holding him. I wonder if they see good things in practice. Well, think about it this way.
Either hurt or they are going to save him for a Dallas problem.
I think they want to save the tape on him. They don't want teams to get a look on him. They don't want teams to get a look at how they're using him yet. And if you had to ask me, I think Brandon Graham is getting to the quarterback enough that they're comfortable with where he's at. Hassan Reddick has been a huge addition for them, and Josh Sweat shuts down the rush like no other. And so I think their edge play is good enough that I think that if he had to play, he could. Veteran player late in the season. I'm sure he's nursing some form of injury. Everybody is at this point. But I think that if I'm them, I'm not playing him yet. I don't want teams to see how we're going to use him. And late in the season, approaching the playoffs and into the playoffs, if they can unleash him and have a 3-headed monster of Reddick coming from the linebacker position, Graham and Quinn, and putting in, Josh Sweat for rushing downs,
right.
I think that edge game can really transform them. And the only thing they were missing is after losing Jordan Davis, Javon Hargrave is great, but he's more of a pass rushing D tackle for me. He's a finesse guy. Fletcher Cox is getting late into his career. He can't be the only guy. Now they got Linval Joseph, who, if people remember, has some of the longest arms in the league, let alone being 340 pounds. And Ndamukong Suh came into the league dominating, is now an excellent veteran presence. I really couldn't believe he was still available. I mean, why has a team like the Cowboys not looked into him? Could y'all not use that?
I know why. Jerry does not want.
You're right. You're right. You need some
Who's
Takk
gonna lead
McKinley
you
in your
like that.
life,
Right,
not
exactly. Yeah, that's
Ndamukong
why.
Suh. Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's why.
GM Jones is on the case. I know.
Oh yeah, bro. He's not want Suh at
Your
all.
team's good enough that I can't lay into it too hard, but I think, truthfully, for me, man, the Eagles can take another step. It's just I'm wondering what that step looks like.
Right.
As far as their running game, still very effective. Miles Sanders, 13 for 47, 3.6 yards per carry is not what you want to see, but against a team that's playing great on the line of scrimmage, they got DeForest Buckner, they got Grover Stewart. The Colts were excellent against the run and running the ball themselves. I think Jeff Saturday, I gotta clap it up for him, man. This has been a quick turnaround, but it's exactly what I thought of. Just add some toughness to this team, make them play a physical brand of football. Let's stop trying to be tricky. Let's just use our veteran quarterback to call the right. Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think it's really funny to me how guys like Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell are back on the scene now, where it's like they're so talented.
Quick, yeah.
But it's because you have a veteran guy who looks at them and says, "Oh, I could do something with that." It almost reminds me, like I said previously, of a mid-tier Julio and Calvin Jones. You got the big physical guy, and you got the quick guy who can just run any route. Runs a 4-2 both sides. And so Matt Ryan knows how to use those, and they're going to have a productive team. And just hanging in there with teams like they have, I think, is really impressive. And I think people got to remember, I believe they're only 4-6-1. So turn a couple more games, they could be a wild card team. But are the Eagles fully back? They're there, but I think there's a greater level than we've even seen this season that they can reach. I want to see what Robert Quinn does for them, because if they get 2 sacks a game from him, a sack and a half a game from him, this is going to be a scary team. Eagles hater in the building.
Yes, of course. Cowboys fan, man. Come on. Philly, they are good, but they have relied too much on what they used to do. That is why teams know what they're going to do. And when you don't change it up, this happens. Now, you could lose probably to the Packers, maybe Titans. You could, because Titans got a great team. So that's a hard game. Packers, you could be shocked, but I think they'll ease by the Packers though. Titans is different. But then, like, soon you got to play Dallas. So if you want to keep that first record, if I'm Philly, change it up. Change the plays. Do different things. Why keep doing the same thing? And two, you've been beaten. That don't make sense. Also, you were like close to losing to the Colts. So if they are too careful, they can lose again. So
here's what you got to remember, though. We saw them play a lot of diverse teams this season. These last 2 weeks, the thing they have in common is that at the D tackle positions, both teams have 2 studs that can really control your line of scrimmage. I'm a big fan of old school football. Just control the tempo, control the time of possession. You see the Commanders got De'Aaron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Great defense. They know how to play them. Good offensive line. And so they can match what the Eagles do well with doing the same things very well. Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner, not big names. They play in Indiana. I get it. But both are all-stars. Both are Pro Bowlers. The thing you got to understand is that how many teams can really control time of possession on the Eagles? Cowboys, I'll give you the credit. You guys might be able to if you keep using Tony Pollard this way. Aside from that, I think the Colts, who are under Jeff Saturday, and the Commanders are at the top of that list. And that's exactly what they did. little more passing yards, but both under 200 yards. The Eagles had more rushing yards, 141 to 99. But what stands out to me in the box score is looking at 31 minutes of time of possession for the Colts and 29 for the Eagles. If you can control time of possession on a running team, that's going to set things apart. And I think that's where we've seen two great matchups for them. I don't expect the Packers to be able to control that battle. I don't expect the Packers to be able to limit that for the Eagles. I do think the Titans play that similar brand. So I think we're in the toughest part of the schedule for the Eagles, going against the Titans. The last two opponents, really, the Titans and the Cowboys, are where I'm going to see a good struggle from them, and having the Giants as well. I mean, these are teams that are going to look similar. But if they get paired up against a team like the Seahawks in the playoffs, I'm all in on the Eagles because they don't do the same things. Yes, Kenneth Walker can break off huge runs, top running back in the game right now, but they don't necessarily control the tempo and time of possession the same way. When you face this many physical teams, it's just hard to blow anybody out. But the fact that they're struggling it out and still getting a win like this, I believe in the Eagles 100%, and I have the whole time.
Not me.
Eagle hater in the building.
All right, man. Next, Denver. Man, I just think that Denver paid them too early and too much. I don't think that they should move on from them, but I do think that you kind of sit and think, what is the true, problem here? What are they not getting? What are they not perfecting? Like what are the problems? What are the struggles? Because if you see it, Russell Wilson had no touchdowns, none. And the Raiders, they are not that good. They're not. So you had two teams play that aren't good, and you can't get that win that Denver needs to have. So they won't move on from them, but they are though now thinking like, dang, what did we do? We paid them 5 years for $235. Why? It was too fast.
I think really, should they try to find a way? There is no way. Mm-hmm. That's not how guaranteed money works. You're gonna have so much dead cap that it's going to be an absolute loss at anything. So I think really the problem is that the offensive line is just not there yet. They got to get a little more sound there, whether it's to the draft or it's to getting new pieces in the free agency. I think the unit they have is not necessarily terrible, but it's just not going to be one that carries your running game. I think passing game wise, they have a good unit, but I think missing Javonte Williams and missing Jerry Jeudy is a very big part of it. I think that's Russell Wilson, man. It's been such an interesting year to say that last year, when he got traded, the Broncos, I'm here in Denver, man. People thought they traded for a Hall of Famer, and most people in the media thought so as well. If you ask most of the country that watches football or pays attention to NFL football, is Russell Wilson going to make a difference in Denver? You're going to hell yeah. But even just looking at there's so many guys I look at that are very good, but they're not to the same caliber offensively that you see other offenses at. Greg Dulcich is amazing. He's a great rookie. I loved him. I've said it a few times this year in our podcast, talking about how he is a big man that runs the hell out of some routes, and I love it. Courtland Sutton, I honestly always hope for a little more from him. I don't think he's a wide receiver one. I think Jerry Jeudy should have been that guy, but I think they got two wide receiver twos, quite frankly. I think they need a guy there, like you saw Russ with DK Metcalf. Even honestly, Doug Baldwin, I thought back in the day was much underrated. I thought his route running was on par. Everyone knew his route running was there, but I thought he really was closer to a wide receiver one than not. And so I think Russell Wilson is a little lost without that. And then people, Latavius Murray, he's able to get that red zone touchdown. You can give him 17 carries a game and he'll get you some yards, get you those clutch first downs. But 2.9 average yards per carry, I think that is who he is as a veteran running back.
Right.
Melvin Gordon getting released. This was an interesting thing to me. And so many people are looking at him and blaming the fumbles and blaming, saying people were joking saying, oh, Melvin Gordon's a problem with the Broncos. Now they're fixed. I don't think it's that. Though. I think it's this. It's someone who went to Denver from the Chargers, who were previously San Diego at the time he played for them.
Right.
Because he wanted a bigger deal. He wanted a bigger stage when they were trying to move towards Austin Ekeler. They kind of looked at him and said, we'll give you an opportunity to play, but it's going to be behind this guy. And he said, oh, no, I'll go in the division and show you what's up.
Right.
Never really did. I think Melvin Gordon's one of those guys that quietly has a very big, I don't want to say ego, but quite frankly, I think has very high expectations for himself, even if he keeps it from behind the scenes. I really wonder, as soon as Javonte Williams went down, they didn't just hand the keys to Melvin Gordon. They didn't say, we'll see what you got. They said, we're going to continue to use you like you have. We'd rather have Mike Boone in the game more often than to give you a full slate. We'll use you. It's not like he's not getting touches. Still got 8 for 31. Still got, 5 receptions. But I wonder what was going on behind the scenes. I wonder if there was things behind the scenes where he's speaking up, wanting more, and they just came to a point in the season where like, all right, we're not going to win. We are a below average team at this point, 3-7. We're a team that has underwhelmed, and we're a team that now has a veteran on a 1-year deal speaking up behind the scenes about how he wants more. And they would rather just save a few million in game checks than have him for the rest of the season. Someone that they quite frankly tried to trade at the trade deadline, wasn't going to be accomplished, and he's not someone on the type of contract that you get a compensatory pick at the end of the year. Right. So there is no value to holding on to him anymore. And I think that the thing that leads me to think there was something behind the scenes is that they release him at the same time that Chase Edmonds goes down with an injury. They just acquired Chase Edmonds, someone that actually fits Nathaniel Hackett's scheme better than anybody on this team, because Nathaniel Hackett is used to Aaron Jones in the Green Bay. I really think Melvin Gordon was a very personal situation that they just wanted to move on from, and they barely even re-signed him this offseason. I think as well, Darrell Henderson being released from the Rams is a similar situation.
Right, of course.
I'm wondering if they're not clearing the decks for a guy like Melvin Gordon. They don't want Cam Akers. They've made that pretty clear. They have
the
rookie.
Didn't get him. I mean,
they were in the running for McCaffrey.
Cam
they
was
were
better
in a conversation.
Than,
they were in a conversation. The thing is, those Cam Akers has definitely lost a step after his injuries, and it's been very public that they're out of faith with him. And so I think, for what it's worth this season, they'd rather go get a veteran who's more versatile as a lead. I don't want to call Melvin Gordon a lead cow, but he is someone that is a 1 through 3 down running back, unlike Darrell Williams, unlike Cam Akers at this point in his career. And I really just think that this is a very interesting move to me. It has a lot of personal decision written all over it, but he was not the problem. And quite frankly, as bad as Russell Wilson has been compared to expectations, I don't think he is necessarily the problem. He, since putting a wristband on, quite frankly, has been not bad. He's just not been perfect. I think Nathaniel Hackett's scheme is good. I don't think it's outstanding, but I think it's come around in the recent weeks. Even though he did just pass the play calling duties off to a new coach, so questions there. I think Nathaniel Hackett's lack of confidence is his issue. If you got to ask me what the solution is for Denver, get a little better at the offensive line and give Sean Payton $30 million a year.
Sean Payton?
Because
to the Broncos, $30 million?
Best play caller available is my thought. He's someone that will look at the offense honestly, assess it honestly, and move forward with what you got, not what you'd like to do. And I think that's where you see Nathaniel Hackett making some mistakes, is that he's trying to make something here. He's trying to make this how he wants it. And, Russell Wilson has been more mobile these last few weeks. He's gotten out of the pocket better these last few weeks, but it's still just not to the expectations of what people think. And I think that Denver has a defense that statistically is a very good defense as far as not giving up points. But when you only get one sack from your middle linebacker against a team that kind of is known to have a not so great O-line, that's a sign. They gave up Bradley Chubb, and although that week we talked about how you got a guy like Baron Browning who's coming off an injury, who I do love Baron Browning. I think he's an incredible player. He didn't get a sack, only had 2 tackles. I don't think they had many tackles for losses even. They weren't able to penetrate the pocket for Derek Carr, and the reason they lost this game is that Derek Carr and Devontae Adams got a hell of a connection, and it doesn't take too much for them to get ahead of a team if they can't put up points themselves. Oakland's defense has a lot of holes, but Denver is not equipped to expose them. And so when Derek Carr and Devontae Adams are just getting whatever they want, even against the top corner in the league, in my opinion,
the whole game,
man, Devontae Adams is still that dude. It's a bad team around him, and that's not what we're used to seeing. But that connection alone is the top in football. It is something that can carry to a few wins, maybe not every week and maybe not most weeks, but against a team that has a struggling offense. And I've been hesitant to say it, but I think an overrated defense, quite frankly.
Who, the Broncos?
The Broncos. Well,
yeah, they are.
I like Baron Browning. I think he's a light version of Micah Parsons. But aside from that, who is their top pass rusher? Can you name him?
Nobody is right now.
It is Jacob Martin, who played on the Texans last year. That's not impressive. Their best run stopper is a guy named Josie Jewell, quite frankly. They got a rookie, Nick Bitonio, good pass rusher, but Josie Jewell is your top defensive stopper.
Right.
Little to nobody knows who he is outside of Denver. And yes, you got Pat Surtain, and yes, you got Justin Simmons. It is largely a good unit, not a special unit. Right. Which is what you see in Dallas, what you see in other teams. So it's like, I just think this was a defense that was overrated during the season and an offense that was overrated before the season. And people expected this to be a life-changing move for Denver. Even, I think the personnel in the front office convinced ownership that this would be a life-changing move, and they paid him without seeing a single snap from him. All they saw from him was down on a tropical coast with a huge cliffside throwing balls on a soccer field. That's what they paid. And when you make decisions like that, this is the results. And I don't expect the Walton family to continue making decisions like that. And so even me saying give $30 million to Sean Payton, I believe it's going to work because I'm a Falcons fan and I've seen what Sean Payton can do. He just give him Jameis Winston. He'll go crazy. But that is a similar vein of decision to what they just did. So I'd expect a more educated, lesser known candidate to be who they go with. But I'm really convinced at this point that there is no way they keep Nathaniel Hackett after this season.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know how, like, in a dating wise, okay, how you'll date somebody for like what 6 years, right? Yeah. And then like y'all done, and then you just meet somebody and it's different, and because of past things, you can't, men now. That is what's happening with Russell Wilson because of certain things. With Seattle was bad, was wrong. Now he came here, he got the money, but he hasn't played to the money.
Yeah.
So I think that Denver, they are in a huge hole, money-wise.
Yeah.
Huge hole.
It's just frustrating to look at because, and that's where you understand that, letting Melvin Gordon go, saving a few million, in cash because it's a cash over cap league at this point.
Right.
Saving a little bit of money, I believe he was on the whole for $8 million this year, something of the sort. Melvin Gordon was
small, yeah.
It wasn't major, but it wasn't light. It was a good mid-tier contract. Saving a few $100,000 to $1 million or $2 million in game checks for the next, I believe, 5 games of the season, it's going to make a difference for them. But for me, it's just Cortland Sutton's not a number 1 receiver. Jerry Jeudy hasn't been that so far. You got Javonte Williams, who was expected to be an incredible running back this year. He was a good one, but quite frankly, coming off an ACL tear, is he going to have those same expectations? No. If he comes back to that level, good on him, but it's going to be very surprising to see that.
Right.
Is Russell Wilson not the most talented player on this offense at this point? As bad as he's been playing, not bad, as average as he's been,
right,
he is still the best player here. And so that's where they're trying to lean on him. And to his credit, 108 QBR, 77% completion percentage. He looks a lot better. I know he had no touchdowns, but they gave the goal line looks to Latavius Murray. But it's just the production is not there for a number 1 quarterback. And I think what you're trying to say, where he wanted to cook, he wanted to be that guy that, was the face of the league for so many years. He said through Team 3, which is him, I kind of hated that the whole time that he had this whole, media outreach that was trying to say things for him. He just didn't want the public look the same way he didn't want to wear a wristband for the public look. I think really he said that he could be the next Patrick Mahomes if you got the opportunity. It's just not that, because you see Patrick Mahomes, missing Juju, get rid of Tyreek. Yeah, you got Travis Kelce, but you got Justin Watson being production. You got Jody Fortson being production.
Right.
And you see guys like Noah Gray getting production. And so that's what you see from those top guys. Josh Allen elevating guys like Isaiah McKenzie to that next level. Russell Wilson is not at that tier. And so they need to just swallow that pill the same way the Cowboys had to swallow the Ezekiel Elliott pill and say, what can we bring in? What can we build around? But I think the biggest hesitation is that Russell Wilson has such a persona to him that is, I don't want to say been exposed, but has been exposed this year.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that's going to hesitate free agent candidates, their top receivers, from coming to Denver for that reason.
Oh, of course.
That's where I see the predicament is the talent you have is not the talent you need necessarily, even though you shouldn't just get rid of them. But can you even bring in those guys? I think, honestly, a superstar receiver through the draft is as good as it's going to get for them. Try to get deep into the offensive line, bring in some guys in free agency, maybe one good prospect later in the rounds of the draft. You traded away your first-round pick. I don't know the status of their second-round pick. Very well could have been traded as well. And I think that third round, whatever it is that they have their first pick, you got to get an incredible offensive talent there. But even that leaves you at the point of, is that defense as talented as people say it is? I don't think so. But to their credit, they traded away Bradley Chubb, who's frequently injured, frequently not available, and they got a first-round pick for it. So that may be the saving grace for them. I see a lot of holes here, quite frankly.
Of course, man. Man, it's been a great night, man.
It has, bro.
Man, can't lie to you, man. Especially whenever we come back. I mean, it's some good games next week too as well. But from the past week, great games. We are getting close to the playoffs for college and also the NFL.
Yes, sir.
And bowl games and things like that. So it gets better. But we will be back most definitely on Friday night, y'all, at 7 p.m. Central Time, of course. For me.
Yes, sir.
But we will be back, guys, on Friday night. Good night.
Good night, y'all.